and everyone would be like, oh, you're so joyous, you're always listening to music. What they didn't know was I was going through the hardest time of my life, and I don't even literally just felt like I was walking around with a bleeding heart all the time. Like I was physical. It wasn't like, you know, it was a physical feeling in my chest, and I would listen to music to keep my head above water, to keep my head, to stop myself from just falling into despair. And so music has been my faithful friend.
You have to do it.
That's one of the best gifts, that healing does not all have to be hard work. Healing can be fun, and play is a form of healing, and I really do believe it is a gift from God for us to access.
I mean,
as I said, one of the greatest gifts that I've got out of this whole MIM thing is, one, having an outlet for the amount of energy that I have, because I do, you know,
she does.
I have a lot of energy, and actually for a long time it's kind of plagued me in the sense that I didn't have a space to expend it. Do you know what I mean? But now I do. Also, it's the feedback, not compliments, just the feedback that people saying. I mean, when we did the MIM launch, one lady said to me, I'd go to war with her.
MIM is meditation.
Yes.
It's a different form of meditation. Because, yeah, it's a different form, because it's not, things aren't always what you think they look like.
But,
you know, the way.
I just think, you know, so there's a very well-known trauma book called The Body Knows the Score. And I just think, you know, I'm learning more and more. There's a scripture that says, you know, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am so done with that. And that's why I dance through the supermarket. Because I am done with caring about what you think, brother. Do you know what I mean? Like, as someone who, again, like yourself, you know, too loud, too big, you know, movement is medicine. There's no limits to the intensity that you can bring.
I mean, it'll be a competition to be louder than that.
And you know what? And this is what I mean. So God is kind, because now I have this amazing, like, built round me platform to be my authentic self, whereas in before I haven't had that. So every time I go to a nightclub, I can't tell you how much I was keeping it in. I think if you see me now in MIM, you know, I was really, you know, I was fighting it. Like, what I wanted to do in the club never happened, right? There are tracks that come on now, you know, You Don't Know Me by Armand Van Helden. I freaking, oh my God, when that song comes on, right, I could skip round the room in a movement medicine class if I felt like it, right? I can't do that in a nightclub or at a wedding, right? Not that people are busting those tunes at a wedding. At my wedding, you're going to hear that. But, yeah, it's just a really safe place just to show up. And, you know, it's never a competition thing, because comparison is the thief of joy, right? So it's coming to move to your fitness level, to your ability. You know, you can come and do a class and do the whole thing seated if you want. My mum, right, who, and again, this is God, right? It's always God. My mum grew up in Colombia. She's born Venezuelan, grew up in Colombia. Very strict religious household, right? I remember going there in my 20s before I became a Christian, and I remember walking into the house that my mum grew up in, and there was a massive picture like this size, maybe bigger, of Jesus's face, right? Okay, and I just remember being like, I just remember feeling the oppression in that place. Like I could feel it. And now I call it like a religious spirit. Do you know what I mean? That's not the God that I'm in relationship with. He's not about that, right? Jesus raves. That's what I'm going to say. Jesus raves, right? You know, and so
that's what the bread and wine was for.
Exactly. Our first introduction of Jesus is at a wedding. Like, he likes to party. Do you know what I mean? And that's, I think, you know, a big part of coming into relationship with God is letting go of letting go of the what you've been told who he is, and finding out who he is for you, and the father that he wants to be to you. I like that. Do you know what I mean? And that is yeah. So, you know, like, I remember my mum was horrified to find out that I was dancing in church, because she comes from that religious thing. But when I showed her that there's loads of scriptures that say in the Bible dance, she didn't want to hear it. but even though it's in the Word of God, do you know what I mean? So people they want to stick to their man-built idea of what God is.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
man-made.
It's man-made idea of what God is versus who He actually is, right? And that is a lifelong journey. And so, where was I going with all of that? But
so you went back to your mum's house.
Yeah. So my mum, who grew up in Colombia, and those the parts of the world where you just get on a bus and there's loud music, or there's just music everywhere, right? And I feel like we're missing, and God's going to do that too. Oh, I can't believe I said that, but that's bold of me to say. But I feel like, I'm just scratching the surface of what God's doing, right?
Definitely.
Because it says,
and I feel that.
Yeah, and I feel like, one of my life verses, it says, "Delight in the Lord, and He will fulfill the desires of your heart." And that's what God is doing. Like, I pushed down the dancer in me because I was told I didn't look like a dancer. I'm too fat, too clumsy. That was the message. So I pushed and denied that bit, and I kept it for the fields and for my bedroom, right? And now it's like God's recovering all of that. But the thing I long for it so much, is that you can go to this, like town squares, or go by the river at Bedford, and there would just be music flowing, and people would just start dancing. Like I would watch people. I've said it on my. If you read my Instagram, you'll know this about me. Like I would watch musicals, and they would be my happy place, in a place that was unsafe and like daily arguments, really toxic, shame-based environment. Musicals and Sister was my safe place. These were.
And I think you won't be alone in that. I think a lot of people use music as their healer, their safe place, their outlet.
100%. I'm not alone with that. 100%.
Yeah, like
I'm not that person.
Yeah, I haven't met. I don't think I can actually name one person who doesn't use music for something.
Yeah.
Like I've never met anyone that doesn't have music in their life.
Yeah, and music is medicine. Music is medicine, and that is what we're leaning into. We're allowing the music to carry us, because when there's no motivation, when you can't be bothered, which often you can't when you're going through challenging seasons or grief or whatever it is, the motivation to go is just not there, whatever. But if you turn on the music, if you can just do that bit, and then just allow yourself to be moved. It's not performing. You don't have to. Your movement doesn't have to resemble what anyone else is doing.
And the way you do it as well, while we're talking about this, is you close your eyes. So no one's watching you. You're not watching anybody else.
Yeah.
It is all about you. It's not about your neighbour. It's not even about Audua. You can hear her, and she's the hype girl. She motivates you. But when you're there in that moment with your eyes closed, it's about you and what you're feeling. And I think for somebody who's going through PTSD, trauma, grief, we can become so, like you said, we can become so disconnected from ourselves. This automatically puts us back in the present, because you happen to be. For one, you're closing your eyes and you're moving around, so you have to be conscious of that anyway. But it's mindful meditations involved as well. So you're touching your body. You're see, how does my feet feel? How does my calves feel? How does my arms feel? Like I never took the time to think about, how does my jaw feel? How does my eyebrows feel? I never in my life took the time to think about how that felt before I found MIM. Whereas now I'm like, oh my God, my jaw actually hurts. Like when I rub it, it feels so nice, because we clench our jaw a lot when we're stressed. And like we tense our shoulders, we frown, so our eyebrows are hurt. These things we do just with instinct, without even thinking about it. And we then don't think how it impacts us.
100%.
There's so much science behind it. We're not just woo-woo girls talking a lot of rubbish.
It's a lot of fun, but it's not fluff.
Yeah, there's so much science.
There's real neuroscience behind it. And listen, there's so many studies coming out about dance now. I mean, again, we call it mindful movement. And for anyone, I just want to really address this whole idea of, oh, I don't have rhythm. You are rhythm. Your breath, your heartbeat, your hormones. Life is built on rhythm. That's God's design, right? Rhythm. Because rhythm's about safety. You know what's coming.
Like you said, you get a baby, you put on some music that they connect to, and they will move. If you can do that as a baby, you can do it as an adult.
Absolutely.
You're born with
absolutely,
it. Like,
absolutely. And we've been conditioned to believe that you've got to look a certain way or move a certain way in order to dance. That's rubbish, right? Your expression is your dance. And actually, I always say this in a MIM, or often say it in a MIM, that the opposite of joy, the opposite of depression is not joy. The opposite of depression is expression, right? We have to be able to express ourselves. And you can do that through art, you can do that through so many different forms of creativity can be accessed. But movement, dance on the dance floor is just one of the best ways to express yourself, find out about yourself. One of the great things I love about movement medicine, so I've been doing it for 3 years now, and one of the things it's done for me is helped me to recognize when I'm holding stress in my body, right? So I'm more empowered now to act on it rather than allow it to build up. So as you said, oh my God, I would just hold so much stress in my jaw. I'd clench my jaw so often. But now through that body focused meditation and learning and taking time to listen to my body, I'm now more aware of when I'm holding stress. And then therefore, I can just, don't have to do the whole body focus meditation. I can just find a moment just to relax my jaw, give myself permission just to let it go. My hips for years have always felt really tight. So I spend a lot more time winding my hips, just at random parts of the day. I mean, I've got a lot of freedom, so I can be in the queue in the post office and just start winding and loosening up. But that's because I don't care. Like I'm just trying to manage my body. I can't always wait till later in the evening to do it.
When you've got a private moment when no one's watching.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I really don't care about the person in front or behind me. So I just, start winding my hips. So it's helped me to be more in touch with myself. Which has been, massively helpful.
But even just that, like what you were saying, like watching TV, like anyone that's listening to this now, when you're watching TV tonight, just take a moment to think about your shoulders. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And a lot of you will find you like this.
Yeah.
But you won't even notice, and you could watch a TV for an hour or two like that this, the whole time, and you wouldn't even notice. It's only because I've said to you now, take a moment to think about your shoulders. I mean, they're tense. Let me relax them. See, look, I clicked when I did that. Yeah, because you have to do it, and it's yoga would do that for me. But that's why I think any type of movement. Yeah. So even if you was going for a little stroll, that's movement. That still helps. Yeah.
The thing is, right? The gym is a great place, and obviously, as you get over the age of 40, strength training is very important. And I would say, I'd always encourage people to incorporate that. But the great thing about the dance floor, right, when it's that sort of not forced movement, when it's just mindful, it's fluid, it's intuitive, there is something, there's a form of expression, there's a form of release that comes out of that wouldn't come if I went and did a body bump class. No. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like, there's something very special about that free flow movement in terms of releasing that stagnant emotion and shifting the heavy stuff, or shifting yourself out of a place of despair and moving your body into a place of, do you know what? I'm alive. And then allow that, that's how I always feel at the end of a movement medicine class. I always feel like hope fills my body back up.
And having that music, I think, because you've got to pick your music that works for you as well, but the music that vibrates you, and doing that alongside in that conjunction is just so powerful. Like that day when you did your launch and you did your live, the electrical violinist, and I literally felt like I'd been transported to Ibiza, and if I honestly, I felt like I could have taken. I felt like that's what it would have felt like to take ecstasy. Because I've such a natural high. But at that point, I didn't even know. You could get a natural high. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I would have had to have had something external to make me feel that good. But I didn't. And I'd had a very busy day up until that point. I've been to like 2 birthday parties or something up until that point. I think
you definitely had to stress to
I did. But I came away buzzing. Literally buzzing it. Well, you often think, oh, I can't be bothered to go, I don't have the energy, it's going to drain me even more. But it does the opposite. It fills your cup by releasing it, and by spending a bit of time using a bit of energy, you're actually filling your cup, which is mind-boggling on its own. Do you know what I mean? But you do.
And it's recognising that you don't have to attend a MIM launch party, you don't have to attend a MIM class to access this. You know, I urge you, if you have the space and time after listening to today's podcast, put some music on that you enjoy, close your eyes, give yourself 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes to just let go to a track that you love. And the reason why we close our eyes is to stay out of that place of judgment, because actually often it's we're judging ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hardest person not to judge. So by closing your eyes, you can really just begin to increase those internal sensations and listen to your body and allow it to lead the movement. You know, it's so great to just sort of step out of that performance mode, you know, that need to, oh, I've got to have all the answers, and just allow the body to lead. You know, it's I I freaking love it.
Yeah, I mean, and so do I. And I haven't met anyone that doesn't, to be honest with you. And it's just, even when you just saying that, it's the giving yourself that space to not worry about other people's thoughts or opinions or your own. And how, if we ask ourselves, how often do we actually do that?
Yeah.
How often do we give ourselves that space? Even Audua, as much as she has, as far as she's come, and as you know, as much as she's learned about herself, and she'll be that one that's dancing in the queue or running to the front of the church, dancing like wilding out. But there will still be points and moments in her life where other people's opinions will impact her.
Yeah.
Other people's thoughts and judgments. Well, even if it's a fleeting thought, like, oh, what would they think? Oh, I don't care what they think. But you still first ask yourself, what would they think?
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? And so it's not often we give ourselves that space, whereas MIM does that for you.
Yeah, it does. And actually, there's a few signature tracks that I like to play. And you know, God is kind. And tomorrow I'm going to be delivering a MIM class online for another charity called In Every Season, and she's again about supporting people to move through challenging situations. Also has her own grief journey. Oh yeah, and in some ways it feels like, you know, today was the anniversary of Erica passing. Tomorrow is the anniversary of her being born as such. And yeah, to be able to do these two things today, it just feels really super meaningful. And there was somewhere else I was going to go with that. What did you just say? Sorry, this is what happens when you like.
About just being in that zone of not worrying about judgment from anyone.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, it's hard to believe, but honestly, right, when you are, because sometimes the movement doesn't even look like a dance. Sometimes I will just want to shake my arms and I'll just be doing this, right? And again, I can't explain why my body's doing that. It's just like, actually, my body's doing it now. It's leading, like, even there's no music on, right? So I'm just leaning into it. But we are shaking off the opinions of others. The opinions, whether it's, and I sometimes say, you know, not just the, the negative stuff, but the compliments as well. Like, you know, compliments can build us up in a negative way. So I remember when I was younger, like, everyone would always comment on my hair. They'd always be like, oh, I love your hair, you love your hair, right? And whilst it's a compliment, I put my identity on it, you know, and I just couldn't wear my hair up because I felt like, oh, if I didn't wear my hair up, then, or if I wore it up, then I didn't look good, you know. So no one's trying to, say anything unkind towards me, but that compliment built me up in a way that it was never meant to. Do you know what I mean? Or you know, so I tell people, come and shake off the opinions of others, both the criticisms and the compliments that have not served you, you know, and we are doing that. You know, we are releasing the old.
Literally,
You're literally releasing the old.
Is that flicking and that shaking at the same time?
Yeah,
it's like you're flicking away. You're shaking off that bad energy.
Yeah,
is it anything that doesn't serve you anymore? It's going.
And to me, like, the reason why this is such a gift from God, is because I think to myself, okay, as a parent, if your child has gone through something really hard, like say, like the other day I was in the hospital with Allegra, right? She actually had severe growing pains, but we thought it was something else, right? So they asked us to go check it out, and she was going to have a blood test. She hasn't had one, right? She's only 7. It's the first time for everything, so I'd sort of kind of prepped her a little bit for it. But I was like, and there's much worse things that obviously parents have to go through with their children. But no parent wants to see their child go through pain. Okay. And if we could find a way to take away the pain and make it as easy as possible, we would do that, wouldn't we? And I just feel like that's exactly what God has done. He says, dance, and the book of Psalms in the Bible, which is all about, or many of them are Psalms written by King David. And what you witness in the Psalms is he brings every emotion to God. Like there's Psalms in there, right? Like he is bringing every emotion to God, and in the religious background that I brought up, you're not allowed to do that. You can't talk to God no way. Do you know what I mean? But I've learned through my own relationship with God. I shout at him. I've cussed. I've said, I've brought it. I've said, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, where are you at? And I could have been praising him the day before, being like, you're so amazing. I can so see where you're at. And then the next day you're somewhere else, aren't you? Because that's his life. Yeah. Right? So, the book of Psalms, it talks us about bringing every emotion to God. Right? That
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because it's not what he can't handle it. Of course he can handle it. Yeah, right. He created you. He can handle it. And it's like your own child. Like they, sometimes you understand they might not always put it together disrespectfully, but you have that compassion that they're just not able to right now. And then but by meeting them, you start to build that safety that maybe next time they can come to you a little bit different. But whatever. Anyway, what I'm saying is I've learned to bring every emotion to God, right? And so the book of Psalms, it shows that, it demonstrates that, right? But it's also the same book that says, hit a drum, play music, dance a dance, sing a song. And to me, the two are very interlocked. So I feel like, again, my life purpose and that's been brought together through this story of my daughter passing away is childhood trauma is a public health issue that does not get enough light of day. And some of us are, that's why this whole trauma-informed approach is so important, because that's what we're carrying. So many of us are carrying and we're responding out of that trauma. We're responding to present day, but it's rooted in something that's happened before. And we've all got that. Yeah, it doesn't get really spoken about, or there's not enough safe spaces to process it and to connect with people about it.
We're getting better.
We're getting better.
I think our parents' generation and their parents, well, all of them, they were really bad. We're kind of in woke generation a little bit, and our kids, I think, will be a lot better than that. Absolutely. But because of the work we're doing now as well.
Yeah, 100%. So, and that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about turning up in your day and age and sowing some seeds for the generations that are coming, because that's where the legacy then gets fulfilled. So what I really would love to achieve with Movement is Medicine, and you can contact me or Lou if you know how to go about this, is that one day I would love the NHS to offer this in the same way they do talking therapy. Because as I said, if you're just talking your way through your trauma, then that's never going to bring about the transformation if the trauma is held in your nervous system, which is what needs to be moved through. That's what, and this is definitely an outlet for it. It's not the only outlet. Like, if you're not spending time in nature, I encourage you to do that. I always say, when life is hard, nature is gentle, and that's
there's science in that as well. I mean, there is trees that have certain chemicals that then helps us relax more and stuff. There's actually
there's absolutely
the water. I mean, I crave the water when I'm feeling really low. I crave to drink water.
That's what I mean. Being in touch with that, and I just feel like I mean, sorry, I just want to say before, like, so now I just walk around with music all the time. Like, so if I don't have my headphones in, I will go into Lidl with my phone just playing, and I will be like there, like looking at the minced beef and just being like, which one am I going to get right again? And I just keep going. But as I said, stress kills, but joy heals. So I'm just accessing joy to help relax my nervous system. And in some ways, yes, it's like sort of reacting to the stress, but I'm also being proactive, because actually by continuing to access those moments of joy, continuing to feed my body the message that I'm safe, I'm present, I'm accessing joy, that helps to regulate me, so that when the next stress comes around, because you know it's coming, right? You know there's another challenge up ahead, because I've spent that time in that place of regulation, I'm better able to respond. So, bringing this back to grief, I know for some people to hear the idea of dancing after what you've been through, what you're going through, all those heavy feelings that you think, I can't allow myself to feel that. I just want to say you do have permission. You give yourself permission to access joy, because it, as I said, it fights back the impact of stress, and stress is a killer. And so and then it's just, it's not just about the accessing the joy, it's moving through that emotional pain, making room for something new, something good. You deserve it. This isn't the end of your story, it's not all of it. And as I said, joy as a tool for survival. This is part of your getting through, or it can be. No one's telling anyone what to do, but it can be. I don't know where I would be if I hadn't tapped into this, because from as young as I can remember, I've battled thoughts of suicide, intrusive thoughts, and when those thoughts, and they still come, where you're not good enough, you don't, no one will miss you if you're gone. I put on music to shut off the noise and remind myself that that's a big fat lie.
Yes.
And that actually I'm still breathing, because there's still work to be done. I still have a reason to be here. And so I just really find your music. If it's not Afro beats, garage, house, drum and bass, then just find the music that you love, and give yourself that mindful moment. You deserve it. You're entitled to it. And whatever comes up for you, allow yourself to feel and move through it. Maybe you don't feel joy at the end of it, but it will shift something. It will shift you out of something.
Can I just add as well? I think I just would like to, from in my perspective, I see it slightly different. It's not about surviving. We do that. This is, when you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, but you still get out of bed. That's surviving.
Yeah, indeed.
This helps you move from surviving to thriving. You're living again. That's what it does. It helps you live again, because we can all survive, but we don't want to just survive. We want to live. And
so
this is the key message here, is that even though for you guys that are right at the beginning of your grief journey, and we fully get it, we understand it, Andrew's not even that far from hers. But and you don't want to hear this right now, I know you don't, but joy does live alongside grief. You can find the joy in grief. And actually, if you look hard enough, grief will help you find the real purpose and real meaning of joy eventually. Not always at the beginning, but eventually, because we appreciate so much more. When you lose, you appreciate so much more about what you've got. That's the difference. And unfortunately, that is the way of the world for a lot of us. We have to lose before we see what we had. What we've got.
Indeed. So so thank you. Honestly, I give thanks to God. I give thanks to my daughter Erica, who reconnected me with dance, because I became a Christian, I got married and became a mum all in the same year. Like, it was an absolute whirlwind, and I just lost touch with, like, not just a passion. Like, music is part of who I am. It's actually it's like in my DNA.
I'm going to say it is.
It's in my DNA. And going back to my mum, right? My mum, Teresita. Okay, so my mum, as I said, grew up in Colombia, super religious household, etc. She wanted to be a flamenco dancer. right? She wanted. Did I not tell you this, right? So she wanted to be a flamenco dancer, and they shut that down. They shut it down. They were like, no, good girls don't do that. That's for them, but good girls don't do that. So they shut down her dream of dancing. And in some ways, I feel like generationally that happened to me. My dad was like, you know, you're too clumsy, you're too fat, you know, and he shut it down. Like, you're not a dancer. That's not what you're made for. And he would tell me what I'm made for, rather than be like curious and, do you know what I mean? He'd be like, no, you're not born for this. This is what you're meant to do, right? And I believed him, as often we do. As I said, we'd fall into the cookie cutter, and it's just so, yeah. And so this is where the recovery is coming back, because actually I'm reconnecting with who I was really meant to be, and that came through the gift of my daughter. But going back to my mum, yeah, I just feel like, you know, so now when I was growing up, I'd listen to all my loud music. Like, I didn't really watch much TV, right? I did, but not, you know, I'd spent hours dancing in my room, okay? And my mum would always be telling me to kind of turn it down, or she would never engage with any of the music that I listened to. Now, my mum lives in Australia. She's like in her 70s, and she's got Parkinson's. And with Parkinson's and dementia, one of the biggest things that they're saying now in terms of, you know, science, is how effective and how powerful dance is for those kind of progressive conditions, right? So yeah, so, and actually when you're on the dance floor, I often think about that. I am actually literally reversing brain aging. Like, they say that dance is one of the best ways to support people with dementia and Parkinson's, right? Because it activates, because music lights up every single part of your brain. It activates all of it. You know, the memory, the processing, the sensory. It's just it triggers it
when
all.
you say it like that, when you explain it, that doesn't make sense. Because like when they say about listening to music in your teens, that's healing, because it brings back
nostalgia.
and it takes your mind back to happy times. You know,
absolutely. Yeah, honestly, because power. You know, music. It goes beyond words, doesn't it? It reaches, yeah, exactly. And what we're, the invitation at MIM is not to just move to the music, but feel the music. That is, I think, something that I haven't always done. I think sometimes when I was dancing in my room, it was to bust a move so I could then go look the club. But actually, is that proper presence? No, it wasn't. I denied myself a moment of proper presence then, right? Because I'm trying to perform at the weekend. Because where are all those people now? Right? Like, who absolutely, the people that count are still around, yeah. So, well, for me, but that's what I mean. That's, you know, movement is medicine, is moving to feel good, and it is letting go of trying to look good. Because I tell you what, I am so done with that, and that's why I dance through the supermarket. Yeah, because I am done with caring about what you think, brother. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, even today at the gym, I've signed up to the gym recently, right? Because my right side needs building up strength, and I've gone to this class. The guy, he's into rock music and stuff like that, and actually he is playing some bangers, right? I'm not gonna lie, but I ain't trying to work out to that. Okay. And I took my own house music today, right? I can still hear him while he's shouting, saying, "Move on to the next circuit" or whatever. I took my house mate. After that, I could have done it all again. Because the music just, it was effortless.
Yes, it does that.
It was effortless.
And I'm sure so many people can resonate. If you think about, if you're doing a chore that you don't really like, if it's, I don't know, cleaning the house or cleaning the bathroom or cooking or whichever, it just makes life so much easier when you're doing it to your favourite song. And you're singing along. And oh my God, I cleaned the whole thing. I didn't realise because I've just sung a whole song that I loved. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, it really does.
Well, I never clean without having music on. But I have music on all the time. So if anything, I think maybe sometimes I could learn to switch it off and just sit with me.
Sit inside.
Yeah. But again, it's you know, I feel like actually through this movement medicine thing, and, you know, learning to regulate myself through music movement. Actually, what I was going to say earlier, and I've just been reminded, is that when we hear the term meditation, often we think, well, I used to think yoga mat, I've got to do that. But that never really worked for me. The best bit of yoga for me was the moving bit, right? So the being still, especially if you're living with like, trauma, actually that can be super distressing, right? But I feel like now that I've done this for coming up to 3 years, that I am starting to move into a place where I can be a bit more still than I have ever before. So it's like a bridge to that. So I realised that, there is an element of sitting still and just being with yourself that is necessary. But at what season will depend on you as a person, won't you? And where you're at and what you're dealing with, etc. I currently am living in a chronic stress cycle. So it is, every day it's like, as you said, there's survival, but the MIM helps me to thrive as well, because I'm like, I'm doing what I love, and I'm accessing joy. I'm not feeling, I feel empowered to not always stay in like feeling stuck. And I've lived with chronic pain in my, right side for like 2 years. And I tell you what, the amount of times that I would have to peel myself out of bed because I was just hurting so much. And I would come down here to deliver an online class, and I would just do that first bit, that movement medicine bit, and I'd be so like hurting all over. And by half an hour later, I'd be ready to move and let go. And the music would just shut down all those pain receptors. It would just shut it off. And I would just wild out, and I'd be like, oh my God, 40 minutes ago, I could barely get out of bed. And I've just used the gift of music, and it's just shifted me. And I do have a couple of people that come to the movement medicine classes, and they don't even move. They're in so much pain. They just come to listen to the music, and they say to me, when I listen to the music, that pain, the noise reduces, and that is science. That is science. If you are living with chronic pain, I urge you to go and check out Flipping Pain UK. It is a campaign run by pain scientists and a group of other people. And they've got loads of people with lived experience with chronic pain. And what they talk about is how often the biomedical model of managing pain is failing a lot of people. So medication, surgeries are not resolving the issue, okay? And as you said,
they cause other issues.
Well, they cause other issues, very much so. And actually, what is proving to be helpful: mindfulness, journaling, gratitude, movement, to your fitness level, etc. And whilst it doesn't always mean that the pain goes, it just helps you to keep your independence. Because if you don't move, you lose it. Right?
Yeah.
Motion is lotion. So we've got to find a way to keep it moving. And yeah, so if you are living with chronic pain, and actually what they do say is they do this amazing delivery, and they say often chronic pain is a result of childhood trauma. It is the body's way of,
because we've stored it for so long.
Correct.
It's having such a huge impact on us over time. If you use have a nail, or something, you pinch your foot, it doesn't hurt to begin with. If you're pinching your foot every single day for 10 years, you're going to end up with a massive blister or whatever, scar or whatever. You know what I mean? It's that continued. And even when you're saying about the meditation, MIM is meditation.
Yes,
it's a different form of meditation. Because it's a different form, because it's not, things aren't always what you think they look like. The way society teaches us how things should look, it's not always like that. So I struggle to meditate in sitting down and being silent. But even with that, most people have music. I don't personally don't know anyone that meditates in silence.
Oh really?
I always have music, where it's meditation music. I have music playing in the background. But again, what you're doing,
carry you away kind of thing.
And what you're doing is still meditation, because
it is.
It's teaching us to stop, to be in the present, and to check in with our bodies. And we literally do check in, because you're actually prompting us to do it, but you're taking that time just to be still.
And that was a revelation for me, that I could meditate moving my body. So the idea of that stillness at the time was too traumatic for me in many ways. But through the mindful movement, that form of meditation, I've been able to release some stuff, regulate my system better. And now I feel like you know, I'm able to respond to things better than I have done ever before, even just as a mum to my two children now. It's definitely shown up.
Yeah, it definitely, it's for me too. And I mean, I don't do it as often as I should. You're doing it all the time, so I can't imagine the impact it has on you. But it definitely does. It's that analogy that I always use. It's, you know, you having that cup that's full, and MIM is turning that tap to release some of that pressure.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. It releases some of that.
Yeah.
So when the next lot's coming in, you've got space for it. Because otherwise, what's happening is we're living. It's just overflow. Your cups overflow over all the time.
And not in a good way.
And that's why we're getting overwhelmed. That's why we overreact to things. That's why, you know, we're snapping at our kids when really we didn't need to. We could have just had a conversation with them, you know, because we're overwhelmed. And it's not a judgment. It's no fault to anybody. It's just learning the tools to be able to release that. And everyone's different. So, you know, different things work for different people. You know, MIM might not be for everybody. You know, you might like journaling, you might like painting, you might like singing, you might like playing the music yourself. You know, there's so many different ways 100%. That we can find our releases, but it's about finding what works for you and listening. By listening to ourselves, listening to our bodies, that's how we find that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And like, you know, one of the things I just feel like, you know, for years, one of the reasons I got into social prescribing, right, is because I watched a program on it. Okay, so it's something that was introduced by the NHS about 15 years ago, maybe even longer, because they recognise that not everything in life comes in the shape of a pill, a tube, or a bottle, right? And I remember the first introduction was a program on TV, and this lady, she'd been on antidepressants for like since the age of like 16. She was now late 20s. And she wanted to come off them, right? She knew that they weren't meant to ever be a long-term solution. And they said to her, what did you used to enjoy when you were younger? And she was like, I love swimming. And so she got into cold water swimming, right? And that is, again, there's lots of science backing that up. Again, wonderful way to regulate. And I just know that for years, my body is in some ways, like that will be part of my journey at some point. It's not now, but that's what I mean. So, you know, you were saying about do what you want. Like sometimes it is really journaling that's getting you through a season. Another time it's that peer support. Another time it's yoga. Another time it's dance or whatever. I mean, I think it should always be dance. Dance should always be threaded in somehow. It's like nature. Like it doesn't matter what I go through in life.
Nature's a good healer.
Nature will always be part of that mix.
Yeah.
But at some point, I'm going to move from the walks in the park to that cold water swimming. I just know it. I just know it because it's
Everest or
I would freaking love that. I would love that. I'd never forget going hiking in Australia and just being like, oh yeah. So that's what I mean. I just feel like your body knows. Your body knows its way back home.
Yeah, and you've got to trust it and trust the process. And this is why it's so powerful to have people like Audua on the show, because it shows you, so for those of you that are right at the beginning stages of your grief, to show there is hope. It is a journey. And I remember hating people saying things like this to me at the beginning. And so I apologise if I'm upsetting you, if I offend you. But it really is a journey. And if you believe and you want it bad enough, I think as well, because sometimes we can stay in that dark zone because it's easier. I think it's easier to stay in the dark zone. It's harder to come out of it. It takes a lot of strength to try and look for joy again, but you can.
Yeah.
You can, and then eventually it becomes a part of life where it doesn't hurt so much. It doesn't cost you so much. It doesn't. You know, you don't have to use so much energy to look for that. It just becomes a part of your life.
Yeah, indeed. And what this has empowered me is that, you know, I mean, I'm 42. God knows what age I'll live to. But there will be other challenges, won't there? Like that's inevitable. There'll be other challenges, and I've just got a tool in my toolbox that I just know I can lean on. Like music has been my faithful friend. And, you know, so often I'd go to work, you know, at the coffee shop and everyone would be like, oh, you're so joyous. You're always listening to music. What they didn't know was I was going through the hardest time of my life. And I don't even mean around, well, yeah, definitely, certainly part of Erica, but there was other stuff going on, right? That was really painful, and I literally just felt like I was walking around with a bleeding heart all the time. Like I was carrying so much emotional pain, and it was physical. It wasn't like, a fit, like it was a physical feeling in my chest. And I would listen to music to keep my head above water, to keep my head, to stop myself from just falling into despair. And so music has been my faithful friend. And often when you don't know what you're feeling, sometimes, and for the most part, you can tap into what music you feel like. And then that, I would then use that to then move through stuff.
And that gives you, then also will give you an indication of how you're feeling. Because if you're feeling sad, we tend to pick sad music to listen to, you know. And also it's a good release, I think.
Yeah.
You know, for people who, like me, I'm not a crier. I don't cry easily. Sometimes it's good to have a good cry. Sometimes we need that release as well.
Yeah.
And music can help us with that. Like so people put on a sad film. You put on a sad film that knows that you know it's going to make you cry. You're not actually really crying about what's happening in the film. You're crying for yourself, because you need to do that. And music can do that too. You know, you can play certain songs that resonate with you in a certain way that help you release that. And that is never weakness. That's strength.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Never weakness.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, every emotion is valid, and I think this is where, I mean, we've always been very similar anyway, but the fact that we've had similar journeys, even because as we are friends, but I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the grief journey it's been horrible. I don't wish this on anybody, but it is a way at the same time. It's transforming.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you get to find your authentic self again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get to live for you, not just everybody else. It kind of gives you life back again, even though it's taken so much from you.
Yeah.
It's given so
Yeah.
much as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, every Sunday, I always think to myself, like, live music, right? There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. That nothing fills me with joy more than live music, especially in outdoor spaces, right? But I go to church every Sunday and listen to this amazing live worship band, right? And I just allow myself to let go. And whatever it is I'm carrying that week, do you know what I mean? Whether it's like, God, it's been so hard, and I just release it and let it go. Or I just can't believe how amazing this week's been and how you've showed up for me, It's just, he's absolutely just carried me through all of this. And I've just been able to, as you said, like, just use my faith as a way of saying, I don't get it, but I trust that you're working through it. I trust that you're working through it, and that, as he promises, you make all things work for my good.
Trust that you trust in the journey.
Yeah,
I trust in the journey, and I think this is why I think it's good to sometimes have these conversations or reflections every so often. Because if we'd have spoken a year ago to 2 years ago, we'd be having completely different conversations to what we're having now. And so off the back of that, sort of hindsight being your friend and having moved further along down the journey, if there's any advice you could give yourself, your past self, or anybody listening, what would it be?
I don't know if it's shifted that much from maybe last year, but I just think, so there's a very well-known trauma book called The Body Knows the Score. And I just think, I'm learning more and more. There's a scripture that says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, right? And I just think that who God's made me to be, so much of that I can tap into when I listen to my body. Like the mind doesn't always your friend, right? I'm not saying, like, disown or dishonor. I'm not trying to dishonor the mind at all, but I just think that my body leads me back home, and I think over the last 3 years, that message, I just marvel I marvel at how I'm learning to listen to it more and how on point it is in terms of helping me to connect with my authentic self. Do you know what I mean? Like, even the whole mention of the cold water swimming, like I just know that's on the card because it's just spoken to me so deeply from even years ago. So it's not happened yet, but so I would just say, know that you don't have to work everything out. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to think through every problem. You don't even need to think through every emotion. Just use this amazing vessel, using this God-given gift of your body to tap in, because it holds answers that your mind doesn't even have the question. It doesn't even know what questions to ask, but your body has the answers to those questions that it can't even ask. So yeah, find your way, or and even getting a piece of clay out and just having a play. I think play is so important. I mean, you just asked me one question, I'm moving, but I think play is a really important tool, or an amazing tool to access and find out what your body needs.
Yeah.
And we're taught to grow out of play from a very young system. Let me not go down that road, right?
We need a whole new episode about trauma and
or just like just the culture, just the whole school system, how it's not built. They're trying for you to be your authentic self, because when you tap into that, you need a lot less of the stuff that they're trying to sell you, right?
Yeah.
So let's not go down there.
We'll just touch a little bit. It's machines. They're creative machines. This is why it's good to be in tune with yourself and tap into the skills that we were born with.
Yeah.
We don't often talk about that, and the society we live in, it depends on where you live in the world. Because if you live in other places, other countries, you would be having completely different conversations. But in this society and how we're taught, they want machines. They want people to go into the work system and to do as they're told, to put up and shut up, and to run the economy for a select few. But it's not about well-being, and it's not about the quality of life. Whereas we are all about that. We're all about the quality of life. It's not just about surviving, it's thriving and living our best lives, even with the sadness, with the grief, with all the shit that comes with it, because it is all part of it. It's yin yang. We wouldn't appreciate one without the other.
It's so true. I hate to say it,
I know,
but it is the reality. It is the reality. It is the reality. Like, I remember when Eden was really young, like I was so scared. I'd be so afraid that he'd die. And I just remember always thinking to myself, that's just the worst trauma that could ever happen to someone.
Yeah.
And then it happened to me. But here I am saying, look at what it, look how it's molded and shaped me. And I just think life has a way of teaching us. We've just got to stay humble enough to allow ourselves to be taught, and gain the riches. I do believe that you go through challenges, but there are riches, as you said, to be gained that you would not find without them.
Yeah. And also it's about the mindset sometimes as well. It's about looking for it, being open to it, and actually looking for it. I spent a long time just surviving. I wasn't thriving at all. I was literally just surviving. And I remember going to the cemetery. I can never remember if it was Zion's first or second birthday. I feel like it was his second birthday, and not refusing to leave the cemetery until I could find one positive. I needed to find one positive from this whole situation, because I needed that. I needed to hold on to that to be able to move on to my next chapter, to come out of that chapter. And I did. I found, obviously, I got Marley. He gave me Marley. And in it, I mean, as time's gone on, I've found so many things, but he's given me my purpose.
Yeah.
Now, I genuinely feel like I'm walking with purpose.
Yeah,
now, and I wasn't before. I mean, I was still doing very similar things where I'm trying to help
meaningful
people,
things,
and trying to change things. But that this is my purpose.
Yeah.
This is my passion, and this is You know, I see people. I'm learning things about myself
Yeah.
as well, and I'm learning to embrace that and to
Yeah.
and to actually acknowledge that, because we always like to be humble, so we don't want to actually give ourselves flowers
Yeah.
a lot of the time as well. But
Yeah.
actually, why not? Like,
Yeah.
I'm learning to see how good I am at the things that I'm good at,
Yeah.
rather than being humble and shy about it. Oh no, I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm just trying.
Yeah.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I see people. I'm
Yeah.
good at that. I even just this weekend I was thinking I'm very good at seeing people when others don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can
Yeah.
use that to help people, because that is a gift.
Absolutely.
And not many people have that gift.
Yeah.
And so I need to use that
Yeah.
for the good,
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
So it's about finding
Oh
those
my Lord.
things.
I mean, I just think one of the greatest gifts that I've got out of this whole MIM thing is, one, having an outlet for the amount of energy that I have. Because I do, you know,
She does
I have a lot of energy. and actually, for a long time, it's kind of plagued me in the sense that I didn't have a space to expend it. Do you know what I mean? And so, you know, just made me feel wired all the time.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to you. I love your energy.
And that's what I mean. I didn't always have the outlet for it, but now I do. But also, it's the amount of compliments that, or the feedback, not compliments, just the feedback of people saying. I mean, when we did the MIM launch, one lady said to me, "I'd go to war with her."
Yeah, people will follow you, but that's the thing.
Who's on the friggin'?
And also, you're so powerful. People will follow you.
Well, the thing is, what happens to me, right? When I get into that flow state on the MIM thing, I just think to myself, you know what? I do believe there is an enemy that wants to kill, steal, and destroy. Right? That's a scripture from the Bible that says the devil does not want to see you thrive, as you said, or he doesn't even want to see you survive. Do you know what I mean? He wants to kill, steal, and destroy. So when I'm on that dance floor, I'm like, ha, ha. Here I am, that stress you caused me yesterday, where you thought you were going to take me out last week. I am just throwing it down on the dance floor. I'm shaking my tail feather, and in your face, devil, I'm going to destroy the stress that you're trying to build up in my body, and I'm going to wake up joy, wake up hope, and live again, and go out tomorrow and advance the kingdom of God even further, or, you know, crush whatever you're trying to do.
Yes.
So that's where that.
I believe it listening to you, and anyone that's listening as well. You don't have to be religious to resonate with this.
No,
you could actually be talking about a physical person.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could,
yeah. You could be like that boss that's getting on my tits, right? You know, all that stress he caused me yesterday, I'm not keeping it in my body. I'm going to throw it down on this dance floor. And that last point that I was saying, I don't think I finished it, was that, you know, like, as a parent, that's what we want to do, isn't it? We want to take away the pain. I did say it, didn't I? Yeah. We want to take a pain in the easiest possible way. And so to me, that is what dance is. It's God's way of saying, give me your pain. Let me have it. And do it in a fun, playful way. That's I don't want to see you pain. I just want to see you happy and joyful. And so to me, it's him, and he turns that around, because that's how he is.
And it's easy. When you said that, I just want to end with this bit as well, because it's easy. It's easy. So many things in life are hard.
Yeah.
But MIM is easy.
Yeah.
It actually is easy.
It is easy.
You go there and everything is easy. So even people think they can't meditate. You don't need it. Ad will guide you through it. She tells you, and then focus on your feet, focus on your calves, focus on your shins. Whatever. She guides you through it. You don't have to think for yourself. You don't have to choose the music. You don't have to choose the time. You don't have to choose anything. It's all
just rock up.
Yeah, just show up. Because and it's easy. Like that is a gift on its own. Because there's so many things in life is hard.
Yeah.
And it's easy, but the benefits for your body and your mind are astronomical. Like if you to go away from this and do a little bit of research into the movement and the music and everything, into your body and relation with trauma, you would see actually how beneficial it is for you. And for some people, it can be 10 times more beneficial than any talking therapy ever could be. And for someone like me who's always struggled to express how they feel, I don't really like talking therapies anyway. I find if you work in support, most people don't. But it's not always easy to express. When people ask you, what's your triggers? How are you feeling? I don't You know,
Yeah.
I can't tell you what's triggered me. I just can tell you I'm pissed off. I
Yeah.
can't tell you why, or I can tell you I'm raging. But if there's any other emotions, I struggle to describe those emotions and how they make me feel. But you don't have to do any of that.
No,
you don't have to do any of
it's
that.
one of the best gifts, that healing does not all have to be hard work. Healing can be fun, and play is a form of healing, and I really do believe it is a gift from God for us to access. So as I said, so that he can take away pain in the way that a parent wants to, in the easiest way that is pain free. So I do turn into a bit of a warrior on the dance floor, only because I think, yes, I'm getting him back, the enemy, for all the stress that he's caused me. And I'm bringing people with me. I'm making sure that they get him back too. I definitely think that revenge feels very sweet on the dance floor. But at least I'm not punching someone up. Do you know what I mean? Which could happen if I didn't have MIM.
And it's not revenge. I don't think, is revenge the right word? You're taking the power back.
Yeah, it's taking the power back, but it's also getting vindicated. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've had, you know, childhood trauma, like, that steals, there's still so much from us. Do you know what I mean? Like, in terms of safety and play and creativity. Do you know what I mean? If you're having to, watch your back every single day, or you never feel safe. Oh my God, that feeling of never feeling safe. And now finding a place of safety. Our nervous system, I think so much of us think that, in order to regulate our nervous system, we have to seek after calm. But actually, your nervous system can find safety through movement, music, joy. So actually, coming alive is a way of communicating to your nervous system. It doesn't have to all be, or do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it's good news for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really is. So anybody that would like to get involved or find out more about MIM, how can they do that, Ajay?
Yes, so if you go to Bright Emotions, she's a charity that I partner up with. We are very passionate about the fact that life is better when you can express, manage, and move through your emotions. So this is about creating an outlet for adults, and that's what we do. We do that in person once a month here in Bedford, every fourth Saturday of the month. That is intentional, because if you're like me and you just can't hold lots of numbers in your head, just knowing that every fourth Saturday is when I need to be there. So find your rhythm with us every fourth Saturday, Bedford Town Centre, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I do online classes as well. That's 7 p.m. on a Monday, 9 a.m. on a Friday. And it's also Afro beats, garage, house, drum and bass. You never get the same playlist with me, because I have to, it's just like every time I'd go for a run, I'd always spend ages preparing a playlist. And my dad would be like, why are you doing that? You spend 40 minutes on a playlist and you run for 10 minutes. But it's the music that gets us through. So I spend time always preparing a new playlist. But yeah, if you do like house, then do connect with me. I definitely am well into my Afro beats, garage and drum and bass, but I love house, because house covers so much. You've got funky house, soulful house, Afro house, Latin house. I'm learning the Chicago house. I'm learning there's so many different houses. So,
and house, I think the vibrations in house, and I wasn't even a house person. But it just, you feel it. You feel it.
Yeah, people say that if you're into house, people say house is more than music, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
And it does. And actually, I think scientifically, the BPM is at the same as your heartbeat.
There is something.
So there is something quite what's the word? I was gonna say not spiritual, but it doesn't have to be spiritual for you if it's not that, but it just takes you away. It just carries you away. So yes, please do check us out, and we do family classes during half terms. But if you're not near Bedford, then please join us for an online class. They're £3 to attend. So we currently have this funding that makes it super accessible. That's what
you can want. Also, if anybody wants to have a MIM event, she's also open to things like that as well.
And I can adjust the music. I did an 80s MIM. I'm going to do an 80s MIM this Thursday with Headway, which was a brain injury charity. So yeah, music, because it's music led, we can adjust the music. I've got a group of ladies that want me to do an Arabic.
See, there you go. But what I mean is, you could go. If people
look for work,
if people want to employ you,
you can.
You can, so you can bring her to you as well.
Indeed.
How can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram under the name The Audua, which is spelled so THEAUDUA. So you don't pronounce my name how you spell it, but it's The Audua. Or you can check out Bright Emotions underscore, and that you'll find us on Insta, and I'm linked in very heavily with Sophie there. And then I think www.brightemotions.co.uk/MIM, and you can read about me there and find the links to all my classes live and online. But thank you, Louisa, for this space that you have created. I am deeply supportive of what you do, as my daughter, I massively support what you're doing, because and I don't necessarily have the right words for this, so please, I hope I don't offend anyone as I trip up over my words. But my children are mixed heritage, right? I've got my son, he's my complexion, similar hair, and then my daughter is my husband's complexion. So I've literally got a whole salt and pepper thing going on. And I'm very, very aware that because of the colour of my skin, because of the colour of my daughter's skin, that her life experience potentially will be very different to, say, my son or to mine. And, even yesterday I was attending some training on menopause, right? So they're rolling out training around menopause for women. And again, same old, same old. I feel like I just wanted to scream. They start rolling out the same stats around people, black and minority, people of colour. And again, how they're less likely to be supported, more likely to have issues around the menopause. It's just the same old.
Every aspect.
Every single aspect. And I am, I have been what's it, secondary trauma from it all. I feel that very deeply.
Yeah.
So I see what you're doing, and I see the waves that you're making for my daughter and for many others. And I am 100% rooting you. Like, if there's anything I can do to support what you're doing and the great work that you're achieving, because there is some changes being made. They're slow, it's all a bit long and blah blah blah, but I see you doing it, and it means the world to me. It means the world to me. And even if I didn't have a child of mixed heritage, it'd still mean the world to me. It's just very personal on that level. But I always think, as a Hispanic/Australian that grew up in this country, I found my people with the BAME community, because I was very aware from my white Caucasian friends that I wasn't like them. And so, I found family amongst that community. And I feel like a lot of the way I am is because I've been around a lot of black people.
Yeah. And I group you with us as well, to be fair. And when I talk about people that I personally know who have been through things, and people of colour, of mixed heritage, I include you in that as well. And I include your daughter in with that, because even though this is the shocking thing, this is what people need to listen to and take home. Because even Audua, and she thinks because of the way she looks, her treatment's going to be different to her living daughter, Allegra.
Yeah.
But it didn't protect her unborn child. Not that we're saying anything was done to cause that situation or anything like that. And thank goodness you had good people around you supporting you.
Yeah.
But your daughter is still part of those statistics.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, indeed. And as my children like to sometimes argue about what her colour skin would have been like, he was like, should have been like me, and my daughter's like, no, should have been like me. We'll never know. And well, I say we'll never know. We'll find out one day. But it's just one of those things, that those are the secondary losses, aren't they? That's what happens with grief. There's so many secondary losses. There's the anniversaries, all the typical stuff that people go through, but then there's those kind of conversations that happen in the back of the car where your children are just joking over it, and it is something to be a bit lighthearted about. But then there's a much what they don't realize is that they're joking about it, having a light conversation, I'm joining in, but then you just get hit.
Yeah.
You get hit.
The
pain.
Yeah. But that's the longing. But it's so nice that you have those conversations, and that's the beauty of having children around you as well, because they can make everything so innocent. Marley, what was Marley asking about Zion the other day? I can't remember what he was asking me. But you know, it's just, it makes it innocent, and it encourages you to have those conversations, because you probably wouldn't have had that conversation otherwise. So it's beautiful, and I thank you for your kind words, and I don't I'm very passionate about this, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything major really. I just feel like I'm just talking the truth and encouraging other people to do the same. But I genuinely believe in what you're doing as well, and I think you're having an impact on people, especially a lot more instantly than I am. You know, yours is instant. Like, you can feel the benefit from it instantly. Like I said, mine, what I'm trying to do is behind the scenes. It's longevity. You know, not everyone's going to see how it grows.
You know, it's, you know, you're up against systemic racism. Do you know what I mean? This stuff is so deeply rooted. I'm just switching on a playlist, and you know, it's not even me, it's the music that carries us through by the end. Because you're right, it is, you know, that, you know, which so many people are looking for, that gratification. It's straight, you know, you can go from feeling fatigued to feeling joyful, or feeling exhausted to feeling strong. So it's different, but you know, I love you, Lou, and I love what you're doing, and you know, like, God bless what you're doing. God bless your hands, your feet, your mouth, your ears, all of it. You know, may you know, I feel like saying to you, there's a scripture that says, never let love and faithfulness leave you. Tie them around your neck. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart, and then you will have favor amongst men and with God. And I just want to speak that into your life and just say, may you just have favor this year, and may doors be open for you that you didn't know about. May you just break down mountains that, you know, systematic mountains that have just been there. Just may you come crushing like the warrior woman that you are. And you're not just a
Louisa
warrior.
does actually mean warrior. Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
And I'm little, and I mean, it touches me. Like, I can feel myself getting emotional when you say that, but I will. I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
It may not be this year. It might be next year. It might be 10 years. But I'm going to keep on going until things change. And I'm not the only one. There's lots of people like us doing the good work. And also, let's not forget, you're part of this journey with me. So I have Zion's Lighthouse, and Audua is one of the people that partner with me, because I believe in MIM that much that it's part of the consultancy, the grief consultancy that we offer, because it's not just about recognizing, acknowledging. We need those tools. We need those tools to manage. And you know, like I said, life is full of stresses. So it's not just about getting through the grief, it's about thriving through life. And together we're going to change the world.
Absolutely. Amen.
Thank you for doing this today.
Let's hug for the camera. I love you, Lou. Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful third. Happy birthday, Erica.
Yes. Happy birthday. And I'm so pleased that we could do this today as well.
Me too. It feels like God orders my steps, and today's been ordered.
Yeah. And you literally, when you said about tapestry, God's tapestry, there's so much that we've talked about has shown that so many times.
Oh, it's just so and you know, I've really just skimmed the surface. I've just thrown you a few examples of how, but there was so much more. There was so much that, as I said, got me to that place of, God, what are you up to? Like, there's something like you're up to something really good, because there's just so many things are pulling together. It's amazing.
So, final words. What do you want to part with?
You will never regret taking 5 minutes to dance. So give yourself 5 minutes, 3 minutes. You know, cognitively, emotionally, physically, it's always, you know, going to benefit you. But again, do we really always need all the science to give ourselves permission just to have fun? Like, have fun. It's a great stress buster. So yeah, like, yeah, just 3 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Yeah, keep dancing.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.